Marc Raimondi for ESPN here with UFC bantamweight champion, blingin' Aljamain Sterling. Apparently he just got the grills. Apparently he just won a ton of money in the stock market too. Alja, what's going on here? Just checked his phone. What's happening here? Are you rich? Can you give us a little? Can we get a little,
I'm hearing good things about the stock market right now, so that's a good time. A good thing I bought in right before this fight.
Hearing good things about the stock market, and I would say that your stock is also going up as a fighter, coming off that big win, of course, against TJ Dillashaw. I want to talk to you a little bit about that fight because it's probably the most controversial, dominant finish in a title fight ever because of the whole shoulder situation.
Yeah.
What have you taken away from this so far? I know that you've probably seen a lot of things on social media.
What I've taken away is that people will find an excuse to try to discredit you any way that they can. The man went through a whole training camp. His shoulder was coming out, and he obviously did good enough in training to think that he could win the fight. I mean, he looked like he was in great physical shape, probably the best I think I've ever seen him look despite the injury. And I've fought 7 pro fights before I got the surgery with a torn labrum, and it happened the same way for my training camps. And I got through the fights, I competed, and if it came out to the point, I'm like, it is what it is. You take the chance, you roll the dice. Everyone goes in there with some type of injury or pre-existing. So that fight wasn't going to get any better even if he had 2 arms. I mean, his defense for me, taking him down, was stupid. Low fight IQ. You don't start throwing punches, and not even like hard punches. You're throwing punches that were like, eh. And those weren't going to do anything. And then you got taken down, and you posted your arm instead of fighting the hands to get your leg back to the mat. So there's a lot of things he did wrong technically. And even in the early striking exchanges, I gave him an opportunity. He did nothing that was threatening whatsoever. I outstruck him. He threw a stupid kick that I knew we planned for. Caught it the same way I had a natural reaction to catch that in training. Caught it in the fight, ran his ass down to the ground like a little boy. And I literally felt like when I grabbed his leg, it felt like man versus child. Like, no exaggeration, I was like, this is probably one of the weaker guys I've ever competed against. That's how I felt. And I don't know if it's because he's off the stuff, but yeah, that fight wasn't going to get any better. Give that guy 4 arms if he needs.
I just feel like it's been kind of like a hard luck few years for you because you're the bantamweight champion, and I feel like every time that you fight, people are going to have some kind of whether an excuse or they're saying something about your win that's not legit, and here you are. I mean, is that like a disservice to you in some ways?
I'm laughing to the bank. So at the end of the day, they can say whatever they want. The history books are going to show dub right next to my name, next to all these opponents. And I think it's the first Jan fight that people watch, and from that first fight, that's the only one that they really remember because they weren't tuned into me before that. They only saw the highlight of the Corey Sandhagen fight, so they didn't really know how good I was. So then they watched the Jan fight, and they see, okay, this guy must really suck. How's he fighting for a world title? I go back and I beat him. Now it's like, there's no way that guy who was just trash 13 months ago should be able to beat this killer. And it's just like people are going to keep trying to find excuses to try to discredit me, and at the end of the day, I'm laughing to the bank, and 2, just keep down with me. Just keep betting on these other guys, keep losing your money, and me and my family will keep getting rich.
So now the question is that you're in the driver's seat now, and you're the defending champ, and there's a list of guys, right, that are possibilities, and some are probably intriguing options. Sean O'Malley's out there, Henry Cejudo. If you had to choose, who would you say? Who would you select for your next challenger?
Sugar Sean signed the contract.
So Sean O'Malley is your guy. You want him next.
That's my guy. There is no contract, though. But if there's a guy I could pick, it's Mr. Sugar.
And why is that?
I think he's the biggest fight. He's the most active. He beat the #1 guy, former champion. So I don't see how you can backtrack after saying the winner of this fight gets the next crack at the title. So for me, it's Sean O'Malley.
And I know you said in a couple of interviews, I think even on Twitter, that maybe not returning until midway through 23, June, July. I think you said. Is that still how you feel?
I said June, but I just threw a random date out there, a random month. I could come back sooner. It's more so about if I can get everything that I want to get done, so that I can just focus on the fight, so I'm not just being torn and pulled into all these different directions. So I got other aspirations other than just fighting. Fighting pays the bills, but it also opens doors and other avenues for other things, and I want to make sure I can capitalize on those opportunities and not just rush back into a training camp when my body isn't fully healed yet. Yeah, you might have saw 7-minute beatdown, but you don't see the 10 weeks of training that we go through just to get to that fight. You didn't see the intensive training camp I had to do for PT and rehab, and then a training camp just to get to the Jan fight, which was in April, and then I fought in October. So I think I deserve a little bit of time off, just like all these other guys. You know, they get to have their time off. Why can't I? You know, I went through everything. I did what I had to do. I fought twice this year, and I plan on fighting twice next year as well, maybe 3. We'll just see how the landscape kind of plays out.
Any of those opportunities you want to share with us? What do you got going on?
Well, working on my rum venture. I'm trying to start a rum company, Rum Spirit. That's one of the things that I'm working towards right now. Got some charity stuff I want to do down in Jamaica. We're trying to figure out the details for that because I'm going down next month.
Sterling Spirits?
Well, that name is taken, unless I use Aljamain Sterling, which I don't want to do because I don't want people actually knowing it's mine. Because if I do good, it does good. If I do bad, it doesn't do so great. So that's the thought process with that. And then I'm starting a brand new social media company. Not social media.
You going up against Elon?
Just a regular media company, like a
Not a Twitter competitor.
No, not like a journalist, but we want to do just tell the fighter's story and give them an avenue to kind of get some exposure outside of what they might typically be used to doing. So we're starting that up this week. We got Matt Frivola. He's our first, I don't say test subject, but he's our first client that we're working with, and we look forward to working with a ton of other fighters. And I'm gonna be involved with that as well. So I want to keep building that, and of course my YouTube platform and other things. There's just a lot, man. And I'm trying to start a supplement company. I would like to do that as well. So, and make it USADA friendly. So.
Of course.
Yeah.
Goes without saying, right?
Yeah. So I got a lot of things in mind, and again, I just want to make sure I could capitalize on this downtime. Still train like here and there. Like I still haven't trained yet. I trained once actually. I lied. I tweaked my rib beating TJ. I don't know how that happened, and my foot was swollen. I had to get an X-ray on that. But other than that, minor bumps and bruises. Nothing's torn. The labrum has some swelling on it, which I had surgery on before. Mm-hmm. So I went through 7 training camps like that, and I won all the fights. I didn't make any excuse about it. Obviously, it sucked. Then I got the surgery when I need to get the surgery. So some people like to make excuses when all of a sudden it's not convenient for them to, they could beat somebody with a blown out shoulder. Then when it's blown out and you lose, you use it as a crutch. Some people like to do that. Not me.
2 last things for you. There's a lot of talk about Alexander Volkanovski moving up to 155 and challenging Islam Makhachev. Personally, and maybe I'm crazy, I think a featherweight title fight between you and Alexander Volkanovski would be very intriguing. Any interest in that?
I would love that opportunity. That would be a great opportunity. And I think stature-wise, it gives me a realistic chance of winning.
You cut a ton of weight.
I cut a lot of weight, but in terms of the frame, he's not the tallest featherweight. He's short, compact, explosive, smart, and I do think I got the wrestling pedigree that some of the other guys he fought might have lacked, and they got him in trouble. And I think if I can get him down, when I get him down, my transition into the back would be very different, and I would actually have I don't want to say a real shot, because those guys had a real shot of beating him. But I think I could make a real threat with my BJJ game because of the wrestling pedigree that I have.
Last thing, you said that you want O'Malley next. Henry Cejudo's still out there. He's the former champ. What would you say he should do? Should he take another fight and get a win before challenging? Should he wait for that fight to happen? What would you say he should do?
He should take another fight. If I fight him and I smash him, you fought a guy that was on a 3-year layoff. Then I'm back here again, all over again.
Another excuse that people are making.
Another excuse. Oh, you're not fighting the. I'm like, there's no winning. So I'm trying to win by fighting the number 1 guy that just beat the number 1 guy. I don't cut corners, and I think guys who get to the number 1 spot should be rewarded. O'Malley's a big draw. I don't think you should risk him losing when you have an opportunity to capitalize on a title shot opportunity for him, for both of us. And I think anyone on the pay-per-view card should get pay-per-view points. So if I do fight him, I think he deserves a cut of the pay-per-view points.
Fair enough. I feel my New York accent comes out more when I talk to you for some reason. I don't know why.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Aljo, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.